Five, four, three, two, one.
Hello and welcome to Troy. TrojanVision's The Week That Was, where we cover the news and events for the week ending Friday, November 8th. I'm Paige Ray. Thank you for joining us today. Our top story, millions of people around the country cast their votes for the next president of the United States this week. TrojanVision reporter Simon Brown speaks with Pike County residents as well as Troy University students to get their thoughts amid this highly contested election.
In 2020, former President Donald Trump won the state of Alabama with 62% of the vote. Some Alabamians hope to see history repeat itself.
Because he's running on a stronger economy, on border control, on a stronger position as a world power. I think that if the people of the United States would rally around those principles instead of who's saying them, then I think that would be really unifying.
In this election, many college students are first-time voters. Troy student Alyssa Wall says her vote will be based on future economic stability.
Honestly, one of the things that most concerns me is just like taxes, just because that's probably selfishly what's going to affect me. More attention to the people who are in need, lower social class, and just people who are struggling day by day to just make it through.
Creech says he plans to vote for Trump based on his policies, not his personality.
I think that we're really divided, and I'd like to see us come together in unity. I feel like Trump, he's a really divisive character, but I think that his policies are really unifying.
While citizens of Troy were out voting, they may have noticed more police in the area. Before Election Day arrived, the Troy Police Department was already preparing in order to keep citizens and poll workers safe. Belle Johnson explains.
While citizens of Troy cast their ballots, the Troy Police Department was working to make sure voting areas remained safe. Chief Danny Barron says TPD prepares for Election Day ahead of time.
Our K-9 division actually went out and looked at the polling areas so that they were aware of what each polling station looked like, and did a walkthrough with the K-9.
Throughout the day, TPD took extra measures to make sure the polls were secure.
We have extra patrols at all of our polling stations. We've encouraged our officers to make sure that they're riding through and checking in with our poll workers and making sure everything is going well.
TPD also stays in touch with poll workers at each voting location.
They have all been made aware that if they run into any issues, to please contact the police department, and we'll have an officer there to make sure that they're taken care of.
Barron says the overall goal is to make sure everyone feels safe while performing their civic duty.
Staying with election news, before the polls even opened, many Troy students were already working to encourage their classmates to vote. Emily Clegg introduces us to a Troy class that used this week to teach the importance of voting.
You can say that you believe all you want, but until you take action on what you believe, no change can be made.
Take action, make change. That's the phrase Junior I.C. Wallace based her most recent typography project on. Her class was tasked with creating a nonpartisan campaign encouraging people to vote.
In researching how many young people vote, just in and of itself, I realized that I wasn't registered to vote when I started this project, so it helped me get a little bit more in depth into research on how I can register, getting my family members to register, encouraging my brother, having discussions with friends respectfully about things that are going on in the world.
According to the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, less than 15% of Alabamians aged 18 through 29 voted in the 2022 midterm election. These statistics inspired the students in Professor Belda's class to target younger generation voters.
With new generations, we are the ones that are in charge of taking the reins and growing the world to the place that we want it to be.
Tiffany Belda is an assistant professor of design. She says this project has helped her students realize the impact their work can have on others.
They were very surprised, not just by how much their vote counts, but how much their design skills can be used to promote civic engagement.
The students even got to see their designs on display.
Professor Stagel got us connected with the Office of Civic Engagement, and they had a voter registration booth. So that gave our students an opportunity to design for that and to also connect with even more students, right?
Emily Clegg, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Now, although only American students could vote in the U.S. election, both national and international students alike were keeping their eyes on the polls. Professor Belda's typography class is made up of half international students. She says when she tasked the entire class with creating that artwork that encouraged those students to vote, she had to explain to her international students the significance of the election and why she believes it has a global impact.
At one point, one of the international students turned to me and said, like, I don't understand. You're asking the international students to teach the national students to vote. And I said to him, like, I understand that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's like, but whoever becomes the next president of the United States will impact not people here, but people globally. That means you and I, we might not be able to come and live in this country. We may not be able to study in this country.
Belda saying it's important for American students to vote as it is their civic responsibility. She says even if the candidates are not what you like, showing up and choosing the best option available is what ultimately matters. And we now turn to the results of the election. We now know that America has decided that Donald Trump will be this country's president once again. Here in Alabama, Trump secured 64% of Alabamians' votes, while Kamala Harris rallied only 34%. But we want to look at where Pike County fit into this. Now, this is data from the Alabama Secretary of State's office. It shows that Trump received 62% of votes. Again, Harris receiving only 36%. Looking at the 2nd congressional district race, Democrat Shamari Figures received 37% of votes, while Republican Caroline Dobson received 62%. However, Figures went on to win the majority of statewide votes, making him Alabama's new U.S. representative for the 2nd congressional district. And it is interesting to note that Pike County residents had just over 24,500 registered voters, but only 13,000 cast their ballots. That marks a 54% voter turnout for the county as a whole. And data shows that voter turnout for Tuesday's general election was the lowest percentage in the state during any presidential election year since 1988. According to the Secretary of State's office, turnout was over 58%. Now, unofficial results from all 67 counties on that website shows more than just 2.3 million votes cast out of the nearly 4 million registered voters. Of course, as we said, President-elect Donald Trump overwhelmingly carried the state as he did in 2016 and 2020. According to the Secretary of State's office, the last time turnout for a presidential election was below 60% was during the race between George H.W. Bush and Michael Dukakis 36 years ago. And although Tuesday's percentage turnout was lower than in the last 8 presidential races, the total number of votes cast was the 2nd highest ever following the 2020 election. Still to come on TrojanVision's The Week That Was, flu and cold season right around the corner. Do you know how to tell the difference in symptoms? We have advice that can help coming up. Welcome back. Although lower temperatures haven't completely arrived in the Wiregrass, the season is changing, which means colder weather will eventually, hopefully, reappear. But that could ultimately lead to catching the common cold or even the flu. Reporter Alexander Vines has advice ahead of that sick season.
Although it may not feel like fall outside, soon temperatures will fall and the chances of contracting the flu and common cold will increase.
We leave here right after Thanksgiving or, 1st of December for the school break. And then usually when we see it the most is then when we come back after the first of the year.
Once symptoms appear, it can be difficult to determine whether you're suffering from a cold or just the flu.
Common cold starts usually with a little runny nose, a scratchy throat, some cough, congestion. The flu usually comes on a lot faster. One day you're feeling okay, you might start feeling a little not good by the end of the day, and the next morning you may be achy, you may be running fevers, and then you get congestion a lot of times with that, or nausea, vomiting.
If you believe you have a cold or the flu, Shariko says it is important to take measures that can keep the virus from spreading.
And if you start having symptoms, you need to, be alert about not be coughing in big crowds in front of people while you're talking to them. Try to stay in more till you get to feeling better. That's the biggest thing, is just being conscious of where you are and who you're around.
Shariko also encourages everyone to get their flu shots to prepare yourself from any sickness scare. Alexander Vines, TrojanVision News.
Staying with health news, the David Matthews Center for Civic Life is a nonprofit organization that says it's dedicated to helping students improve their mental health. The center is also known for creating discussion guides on different public issues around the state of Alabama. Representatives from the center are now trying to get new information for its latest guide, and they stopped by Troy University for help. Simon Brown has more.
Troy students and faculty discussed a not-so-comfortable topic, mental health. Mark Wilson, a partner with the David Matthews Center, facilitated the discussion.
So we're working with the Matthews Center on creating a community discussion guide on mental health. And so we're having a conversation with students and community members today about the ways in which community members can assist each other with mental health crisis, with mental health information, with mental health advocacy.
Among the topics students talked about were the lack of mental health facilities in Alabama, whether or not people with poor mental health should be allowed to own guns, and if prescribed medication is actually doing more harm than good.
So I think it's important as a student to always, gain more insight about mental health, as it's increasingly becoming a part of, our lives, and it's become very important to know about and to be aware.
Towards the end of the discussion, students talked about the next steps that could be taken on the topic of mental health.
I hope, and the David Matthews Center hopes, that they would continue the conversation so that they take the issue guide from today, take some of the reflection questions that we give them, get a group together, get their fellow classmates together, continue the conversation with others in their communities.
The David Matthews Center hosts discussions in all of Alabama's 67 counties and looks forward to continuing the conversation.
In other news, although homecoming is over, right now there are students who are benefiting from a homecoming food donation drive. Last week, campus organizations came together to donate a number of food items to the Trojan Food Pantry. Neela Cole reports.
Troy's Homecoming Committee managed a food donation drive for the philanthropy section of Homecoming Week. Tins for Troy allowed organizations to donate food for the Trojan Pantry.
I think the overall goal of this is just to bring the community together, because most of the time Greeks don't get together and do something all the time, or other clubs on campus. They don't have like an outlet to, hang out with each other, and this gives them that. And it also allows them to do philanthropy, which is important for almost every single club here on campus.
Organizations brought food items such as canned goods, boxed cereal, and microwavable meals to the main quad.
It's just really important to us just to give back to Troy and the place that we're located in, because we really care about this community, and we just feel like it's our part to give back to so much that they've given us.
After the counting of the food items for each organization, students created a Tea for Troy with the collected items.
Community service has always been big for me, and joining Chi Omega is one of our values. And community service is important because Troy does so much for us as a sorority and just as a college student. So giving back to the city is important because, Troy loves Troy.
Neela Cole, Troy, TrojanVision News.
6,732 items were collected for the Trojan Pantry during that drive. Staying on campus, starting your own business can be difficult, but one resource in Troy is helping to make that process a little easier for entrepreneurs by pairing them with student consultants. Sarah Campbell explains.
Troy's Small Business Development Center recently launched a new pilot model that aims to equip local entrepreneurs with hands-on training and empower the next generation of business leaders. That's through a community entrepreneurship boot camp.
The model that we have implemented is to become a bridge between students and the community so they can use the knowledge they already have in making an impact in those businesses.
The boot camp is a 3-phase program that lasts 10 weeks. It focuses on education, consulting, and mentorship.
To create resources for our community members for them to thrive and succeed in their businesses.
Not only does the program provide entrepreneurs the essential tools and skills needed to launch a successful business, but it also selects 5 Troy students to act as business consultants.
They get to work and use their knowledge, understanding that it's not something that they are going to see in the classroom, cultivating that next generation of business advocates and consultants and people that can be mentors and supporters of our local economies. Truly means a lot for our mission.
This role allows students to apply their business expertise and work directly with local entrepreneurs as they navigate through the program.
By pairing them with 2 or 3 businesses that had specific issues or projects that they wanted to work on, the students completed their needs assessment, and we started helping them draft a action strategy in which they're going to use to accomplish the goals that the business is requiring or needing.
Other tasks the student consultants will assist entrepreneurs with include content development for social media, financial projections, and refining business plans.
Coming up on Troy Trojan Vision's The Week That Was, basketball season has arrived in Trojan territory. We have a recap from the first 2 games of the season when The Week That Was continues.
When you look at the number of disasters in the U.S., chances are every area will deal with some kind of emergency in the next decade. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Welcome back. We begin with football news. In their first home game in nearly a month, the Trojans fought to keep their homecoming win streak alive. Jack Sturdivant has the rundown.
Saturday, in front of a packed homecoming crowd, the Trojans defeated the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers by a score of 38-24.
The vet was unbelievable tonight. Our student section, our fan base, and the people to show up for us on a homecoming crowd and bring the energy they brought for this football team and our program when it's been a rough year just shows you what this fan base is and why we believe it's one of the top fan bases in the country.
With the win over the Chanticleers, Troy secured its first Sun Belt win this season.
It feels great. I told some of the guys that felt those feelings are even better than some of the ones in all the history because how good it feels for everybody else.
The Trojans were a 2-headed monster on the ground, with running backs Gerald Green and Damian Taylor tallying over 100 yards and recording a touchdown.
Those 2 backs simply just ran with physicality and effort, got extra yards, finished runs, and it just shows what this operation's about, what Troy's about, a tough physical group of men.
The Trojans will be on the road in Statesboro and Lafayette for their next 2 games before returning home to close out the season against Southern Miss.
We're going to ride the wave of momentum, but the messaging and everything we're doing is the same. Our goal is to improve on Tuesday's practice, prepare, and put ourselves in the best position to win games.
Jack Sturdivant, Troy, TrojanVision News.
The Trojans will be back in action November 16th when they take on those Georgia Southern Eagles. That game is set for 3 o'clock in Statesboro. This week marked the beginning of Trojan basketball season for both Troy's men and women's basketball teams. Jack Sturdivant has the outcome of the men's first game of the season.
Monday night, Troy men's basketball tipped off its season with an 84-74 win over the Toledo Rockets.
It was a great stepping stone. Very nervous going into this game. Toledo, we watched them go on Michigan's home court, have them on the ropes. They ended up losing by 4. So we knew it was going to be a very difficult game. They've won 4 straight MAC championships. You have to be a really, really high-level basketball team to do that. So, I mean, about as hard of a game as you could open up with. I was proud of our guys. We were really locked in defensively. We did a great job on the boards for the majority of the game.
The game started off competitive with both teams trading baskets. However, the Trojans would go on an 11-point run late in the first half and wouldn't look back.
We had got chewed out in the timeout a little bit. We weren't getting any stops, and our coach was like, we got to get a stop. And so we called the kill, 3 stops in a row. We came out there, got our stops, and we just kept going from there.
The Trojans are returning 12 starters from last year's 20-win team that saw them finish 3rd in the Sun Belt.
We all sat down together as a team, was like, man, if we all come back, we have something special. We didn't finish how we wanted to last year. So, I mean, with us coming back this year, you know, trying to make our name known and get the #1 spot and punch our ticket to March Madness, I think we can do it.
Saturday, the Trojans head to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Privateers.
We'll be off tomorrow, let the guys go vote, and then we'll get back to work on Wednesday. My staff's done a great job prepping for Toledo. I know we'll be well prepared for the New Orleans game. It's not going to be an easy game. There's no easy games. But if we play like this, great things will happen for us.
Jack Sturdivant, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Moving to the women's side of things, the Trojans weren't as successful as the men's team, but they weren't far off during their season opener in Buffalo. The women ended the game just 2 points short with a score of 80-78. Throughout the game, though, excellent plays were made from a number of newcomers. Brianna Pieros recorded a team high of 15 points. Fortuna Ninawo led Troy with her first double-double. Then Ashley Baez and Brianna Jackson showed up and showed out with their debuts. Eventually, though, it was the Trojans' foul troubles that resulted in that loss, with Troy committing 33 fouls to Buffalo's 24. Now, they don't have much time to stay focused on that loss as they have to continue that 8-game road trip. The first trip is to Montana State for the first of 5 guaranteed first-time meetings. Moving over to the pitch, Trojan Soccer played their last match of the season at the end of last week. Reporter Jack Sturdivant has that story.
After a hard-fought match Thursday night against the Arkansas State Red Wolves, Troy capped off its season with a draw at 0-0.
We get a shutout, but we don't get a win, but we don't get a loss. So, you know, it's better. You know, it's not a win, but it ain't a loss.
Thursday night also marked the last game on the pitch for Trojan seniors, one of those seniors being Delaney Wells.
We end on with Delaney, who, you know, came with me from my last school. I've coached for 4 years, and Delaney's like a daughter to me.
The Trojans' 2024 campaign was certainly not an ideal one, as they faced many issues due to injuries.
Injuries upon injuries upon injuries. You know, if it happened to a team, it happened to us. You know, we'd get somebody fit, and then somebody else would go down, and then we get one person, another person fit, and 2 would go down.
Although the fall season is over, the Trojans will certainly not take the offseason for granted.
We've got to get better technically in the spring, and that's going to be the biggest to work on.
Jack Sturdivant, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Although they finished their playing careers for the Trojans, both Riley Rohan and Delaney Wells will remain in Troy as assistant coaches. Moving from the soccer field to the court, Troy volleyball faced ULM in a 2-game home series last week. We go to Jimmy Nichols, who has the recap.
The Trojans gave ULM a major scare on Halloween night when they dominated the Warhawks 3-0.
Dealing with a few heartbreakers the last 3 matches, some really tough 5-set losses, so it was good to kind of get that monkey off our back.
The Trojans winning the first set 25-23, then 25-21 in the second set, and winning the final set 25-23. However, ULM was keeping the pressure on Troy and threatening to take one of the matches.
Great contributions from Tori and Amaya and Kalina especially. Did a really nice job on the pins, scoring some points.
Tori Hester continued her streak of double-digit kills, finishing with 19 Thursday night. However, freshman Kalina Cavello stole the show, finishing with 13 kills, starting her own streak of 4 games in a row with double-digit kills and finishing with 1 block. She gives all the credit, though, to the team around her.
I think just the biggest thing is really having amazing passers and setters that are able to feed me the ball. They're just amazing, and it's great to play with them.
The Trojans kept their momentum from Halloween night when they rolled into Friday. Troy seemingly circled the Warhawks, winning 3-0 for the second consecutive night.
Yeah, what we just talked about is that we played better tonight than we did yesterday. So that's really good momentum, shows some resiliency of our team.
ULM struggled to maintain pressure on the Trojans as Troy won the first set 25-14, second set 25-18, and the third set 25-16.
So that was another back-to-back team effort win, and that's really good for us as we move into these last few really important weeks.
The Trojans will need to continue this winning streak as they finish out the season. They are currently in 4th place in their division, with only the top 5 teams from each division going to the Sun Belt playoffs. Jimmy Nichols, Troy, TrojanVision News.
Next on TrojanVision's The Week That Was, an annual celebration arrives in Troy, and those who celebrate it say it's a holiday all can enjoy. That story is right after the break, so stay with us.
If you love them enough to suck the snot out of their nose at 4 a.m., then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
We all dream, but dreams quickly become distant memories unless we do something about it. Do everything in our power to learn to lead. At Troy University, we offer leadership opportunities from day one. We're dedicated to teaching a new generation to lead change. Do you have what it takes to change the world?
Thanks for staying with us. November 1st marked the National Hispanic Holiday, Day of the Dead. Although it's largely celebrated in Mexico, some Troy residents use the day to honor their loved ones. Reporter Laura Stokely shows us how.
Did you know a popular holiday among the Hispanic population occurred over the weekend? Day of the Dead is a time for people to celebrate loved ones who have passed.
It's a celebration of life. It's hugely celebrated in Mexico.
One Troy resident shares who she will be honoring this holiday.
I celebrate it pretty much every year, but the past 2 years I celebrate it more because my cat passed away 2 years ago.
Altars are set up for past family members, friends, and even pets, often decorated with their pictures, candles, and favorite food.
It varies by person, but they would put up altars in their homes anyway, wherever they can, and decorate it. Like I said, they put photos on the altars of the loved ones, and then they put their favorite items.
Troy University students who are part of the Hispanic population also enjoy celebrating the holiday.
So this is actually the first year that I'll be making an altar myself. Usually my mom would make an altar for her grandparents, my great-grandparents, but this year I get to actually do one at my own house and for somebody, or for my cat this year who recently passed away.
Although Day of the Dead is mainly a Hispanic holiday, any culture is welcome to celebrate.
Now it is primarily Mexican, and I think the U.S. can also do that because I think it's just such a special holiday, especially at this time of the year where you're getting closer to Christmas. You might be missing some of your folks that maybe passed away, and what a great thing to do. And nobody's ever going to look at you and say, don't celebrate it because you're not Mexican. If anything, they will offer you help. They will offer you guidance if you really wanted to do it.
Contrary to its name, Day of the Dead represents life, where all are welcome to celebrate their loved ones who have passed. Laura Stokely, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
And that's all the time we have for Trojan Vision's The Week That Was. To see what's happening on a daily basis, tune in to Troy Trojan Vision News at 5, 6:30, and 10:30, Monday through Friday. Also, visit our website. Until we see you again, have a great week.